Good morning. Welcome to those with us here in this space and those joining us on LIVESTREAM. I am Laura Shennum, Minister of Congregational Life, and I will be joined on the chancel this morning by Rochelle, Fortier, Nwadibu, who is our board moderator. Our speaker this morning is our former minister, John Burens, and the worship associate is Dennis Adams. Thanks to our musicians today and our tech team, including those who are monitoring chat and are available to help if you have any questions. We hope all of you here or on LIVESTREAM have an order of service so you can follow along in worship. Thank you for wearing your mask indoors at coffee hour following the service. If you are outdoors in our Thomas Starr King room, you can remove your mask while drinking and eating. We do ask everyone to remain masked in our hallways, what we call our gallery, so that those spaces are safe spaces for our vulnerable folks. Everyone speaking or singing today who removed their mask had a negative antigen test this morning. Thank you for your cooperation in keeping everyone safe. Now that I have gone over some of the formalities of welcome you into our service this morning, I would like to turn to acknowledge a harm that happened in our sanctuary last Sunday. The Lunar New Year began last Sunday, January 22nd. This is a time of celebration for our congregants. It has a long tradition of history and a deep meaning to many of those of Chinese, Vietnamese, Korean, and Taiwanese descent. Those who recognize the Chinese New Year honor this year as the Year of the Rabbit. Those who recognize the Vietnamese New Year honor this year as the Year of the Cat. The Lunar New Year is observed by over 1 billion people, not only in Asia, but in the majority of countries throughout the world with Asian diasporas, such as the US. Lunar New Year is even a San Francisco public school holiday. As I mentioned, last Sunday was the beginning of the Lunar New Year, and it was mentioned it was the Year of the Rabbit at the beginning of the service. An unfortunate comment was made that, while intended to be funny, had the impact of being dismissive of a sacred holiday many cultures hold dear. Added to that harm was the laughing heard throughout the congregation. This was extremely harmful and disrespectful to our congregants celebrating the Lunar New Year. We are all harmed when we witness cultural erasure. In talking with congregants harmed, I understand this was an example of how easily their traditions and culture have been dismissed and erased in our society. In addition, during a time of celebration, the community was dealing with the deep sadness of the mass shootings at the Lunar New Year activities in Monterey Park, and then compounded by another shooting on Monday in Half Moon Bay. In the US, there has been and continues to be an anti-Asian violence and harassment. Members in our congregation have felt the impact of the violence and the trauma associated with it. As one of the ministers in this congregation, I offer my deep apology to those congregants who were impacted by this harm. I apologize for the dismissive nature of the comment and for the added impact to hear the laughter of those present. I apologize for adding more harm to a tradition that was already impacted by violence. I am deeply, deeply sorry. As a leader of the congregation, I vow to do better in ensuring our guest speakers understand the beautiful diversity of our congregation and to take care with their words. I vow to provide continuing education to help us as a congregation know how to name harm in the moment, even in worship. This is work we signed up to do as a community when we affirmed the 8th principle. My hope is we see this as a learning and growth opportunity to lean into this work, to lean into the discomfort, and to better recognize when our fellow congregants are harmed. I encourage each of you to find a way to engage in this work. If you need help finding a starting point, then feel free to set up a time with me or our senior minister, Vanessa Rush Southern, to talk further. I encourage you to learn more about the Lunar New Year celebration. Our service next Sunday will have elements that will focus on this centuries-old tradition. There are activities throughout the city honoring the New Year, and one is the Lunar New Year Parade on Saturday, February 4th. There is information in your order of service or in the flame about how you can participate. In addition, many of the businesses in Chinatown are still recovering from the pandemic and could use your support. So stop by, get a meal, snack, or a gift. I will now invite our board moderator, Rochelle Fortier Nwadibu, to offer words as an elected lay leader of our congregation.
Thank you, Reverend Laura. Good morning, everyone. My name is Rochelle Fortier Nwadibu, and many of you know I presently serve as the moderator of our Board of Trustees. And I'm here today with a very heavy heart. And as moderator, my message today is that it's really up to us. And so I'll begin my comments with why we are here. And the answer is simply that since this is the place where the harmful words were spoken, it must be the place where repair begins. Appearance on the chancel will not happen with every harm that's inflicted in our community, but because it took place here and the response from our congregation was laughter, it is important that we respond from this place. So my message again is that it is up to us. Everyone should know that the board has been extremely mindful of the work of the eighth principle. This resolution of the Board of Trustees, which should be in your order of service, was passed at the first board meeting after the passage of the eighth principle. I encourage everyone to take the time to read this at your convenience. Feel free to carry it with you. In the resolution, you will see references there to beloved community. And many people ask, what does it mean to strive for beloved community? And how do we do it? I'm here to let you know that the Board of Trustees has begun the work. This past fall, we each participated in Beloved Conversations. And for those of you that are not familiar with Beloved Conversations, I'm going to read a quote from their website. Beloved Conversations is a program for people seeking to embody racial justice as a spiritual practice. The program is grounded in Unitarian Universalism, developed and offered by the FOS Collaborative of the Meadville Lombard Theological School, and it's open to all learners. In Beloved Conversations, we are here to heal the impact of racism on our lives in order to get free together. Also this spring, the board will participate in a small group pilot project with the Star King School for the Ministry. It is a 10-week program which has been funded by our Hinckley Fund called WEAVE, W-E-A-V. It's based on Star King School of the Ministry's Educating to Counter Oppression. It's a Star King educational method that will consist of this 10-week program and center the voices of those bearing the impact of systemic injustice, build spiritual community, increase trauma, exposure, awareness, and self-care practices while weaving in restorative and reconciliation practices, since data shows that harm is still being done in our UU communities. And this curriculum was developed by Star King, especially for congregations. I believe that our funding and participation in this pilot project reflects our commitment that we are making to this work. We have also encouraged community chairs to be more mindful and to engage as lay leaders. In addition, I would like to announce something that we've been working on for over a year, which is a right relations team. We have several members of our congregation that have been attending training that's been offered by the UUA this past fall, and it will be completed in February. At that time, the board will be able to establish a team that can serve the community and support our journey towards beloved community. And I want to offer a special thank you to all of those that are in the training and their dedication to the health of our community. Again, it is up to us. It is up to us to recognize when harm is present. It is up to us to recognize that cultural erasure is not appropriate in any context. In this situation, it happened in the blink of an eye. And adding insult to injury, It was at a time when Asian culture should be intentionally centered, honored, and respected. Yet, we laughed. It is up to us to make sure that cultural erasure no longer has a home in this space. So let's take a minute here and remember who and what we say we are in our mission and vision statements. That we are a vibrant, joyous, caring, inclusive community of diverse people. We create a nurturing space for spiritual growth and learning, which is based on our shared values. We will work together courageously and publicly for human rights, economic justice, and environmental salvation. And our vision for our community is that we, as First Unitarian Universalist Society of San Francisco, we delight in our authentic, inclusive congregation that reaches across generations, ethnicities, and differences. And we take care of one another, building spiritual community, knowing that we are stronger and accomplish more together. Guided by our responsibility to future generations, we're taking leadership and shaping a compassionate and sustainable world, inspired by our courageous heritage and compelled by our conscience. We hold one another accountable to work for racial, environmental, and economic justice, and above all, dignity and rights for all. I think we fell short this past week, and I'm sorry to say that it is not the first time. So to avoid these behaviors that create harm, we must engage in this work of the eighth principle. It's a journey full of spiritual practices, unlearning, and learning anew. We began by working on our own internalized racism, and yes, I'm speaking to myself, so that we can truly begin the healing that this community richly deserves. So if you haven't already, I encourage you to watch our videos on UUSF Media that challenge us to recognize the microaggressions that live rent-free in what we would characterize as the two-white zone. Enroll in Beloved Conversations, which is now open for the spring semester, and engage in the opportunities in our community to increase our understanding of our own limitations, increase our multicultural awareness and capacity to respect and honor all cultures in the moment. I look forward to seeing you on this journey of unlearning and learning anew. I'm striving myself to bring my better self in all spaces, and especially in this one. And I hope that we all develop personal and spiritual practices that contribute to healing and the erasure of harm. Again, it is up to us.
Thank you, Rochelle. I did reach out to Rabbi Singer, and these are his words for you. I am sorry if I offended anyone. I wish nothing but blessing for those celebrating the Chinese New Year. Please extend my apologies. It was not meant to denigrate that beautiful moment for so many. I know it is a time of great pain when there now should be joy. May there be healing and peace. Shalom, Rabbi Singer. Now I'd like to invite us into a moment of silence for all those affected by the mass shootings in Monterey Park and Half Moon Bay. I invite us into a second moment of silence for Tyree Nichols and his family, as well as all of those affected by police brutality. Thank you so much for being on this journey together.
And now, so we can all draw even a little closer together, we will have our Unison Chalice lighting with the words that are provided in your order of service. If you're joining us at home, you can light your own chalice if you'd like. We light this chalice for the light of truth, the warmth of love, and the fire of commitment. We light this symbol of our faith as we gather together.